What if they made John Wick into an indie comedy where instead of shooting bullets, he shoots smiles to save his dog? It's day 131 of 365. Today's movie, Our Idiot Brother. If you love movies, you'd have to be an idiot to not join my movie club. Patreon.com/TicketStubMovieClub has these daily reviews as well as monthly deep dives and more. Go check that out through the link in my profile. Directed by Jesse Peretz and starring Paul Rudd, Elizabeth Banks, and Zooey Deschanel, this one is just an charming little odd duck of a movie for us to talk about today. I actually saw this movie on a whim because I was a fan of Wet Hot American Summer, and so Elizabeth Banks and Paul Rudd being here, I was definitely on board. The trailer kind of grabbed me just because I aspired to be kind of like this character. Not exactly, but like the long hair, the beard, the Cho personality, the toking, all of that makes sense when you look at me, right? I've seen this one a couple times since it came out, so revisiting it is like putting on a nice warm old blanket. In the theaters, it charmed me, and revisiting in 2025, I was actually kind of surprised at like how much it still works for me, even though it's over 15 years old now. Usually comedies kind of lose their edge over time, but so many of the situations in this and so much of the idiocy is timeless. I was also like a naive, overly nice kind of idiot young guy, so there was a lot that I related to in this character, and seeing him be able to like still succeed and work around his family, all of that just worked for me on many levels, even now. Something else I noticed in my recent rewatch was how good the family dynamic works. Something I've complained about in a lot of other stuff, specifically the new Alien Earth, is like brother-sister dynamics in movies and TV shows often don't work. The actors aren't actually related to each other, so sometimes their like sexual chemistry can show up on screen, and if you don't have someone that's writing the situations well and directing people to not act in that way, it can be really distracting to watch two people talk to each other with like longing in their eyes. This movie doesn't do any of that. There's bickering and arguing, and like they love each other, but it's very platonically. Paul Rudd is the perfect person to cast into that too. Like, we know him as like a sexy guy in real life. He's ageless and timeless and aging like fine wine. But in a movie like this, where he's kind of playing an idiot that's getting taken advantage of, everyone around him is more motherly, and so that just makes the family dynamic work that much better. There's just some great stuff in this one, so let's talk about the three things that I loved about Our Idiot Brother. The first thing that I dig about this movie is Paul Rudd. He is perfectly cast in this movie. He does an assortment of characters. I mentioned Wet Hot American Summer at the top, in which he plays kind of an unlikable, jerky asshole. So he can play that end, but to play this like absolutely earnest, heartfelt, heartwarming, if not kind of an idiot character, is just so much fun. Like, he plays the straight man and the normal guy a lot, and that's a good role for him. Don't get me wrong. Like, he's really genuinely charming at that. But it's when he plays his off characters. He's got a character with a giant mustache in Mute, and those are the characters that come to mind to me so much more often than in Ant-Man, which he was in with Michael Pena, who we talked about yesterday. His casting in this movie carries the whole thing too. Now, everyone is good in this movie, and everyone's kind of acting a little bit against type as well, which is also a lot of fun. But Paul Rudd is just so genuinely heartfelt and charming across the whole thing. This shtick feels like it would get old eventually, and it just doesn't. And instead, they hit us with like this gut-wrenching charade scene where the character finally breaks and he's able to just like be angry and sit with that feeling for a minute. And he doesn't want to. He does it because he knows he's going to prison later on that night and just hasn't told anybody. That in and of itself is just so heart-wrenching, that knowing that he's going to go to prison and is finally mad at the people in his life who take advantage of his idiocy is such a glow-up for the character. Like, he's not going to stop being an idiot. We know that. But he still gets that like cathartic breakthrough, and I love that for him. He plays that so straight and so serious and so well that it's contrasted against his like earnestness in a way that I just absolutely adore. The second thing that I love about this movie, yes, the dog survives the film. If you're like me, anytime there's a dog in a movie, you're curious if it's going to survive or if it's going to be turned into a plot point where overcoming the dog's death is important to the emotional journey of the character. Willie Nelson survives the movie, and he almost does it. There's a jump scare at the very end of the movie that tricks you into thinking maybe Willie Nelson has like passed away now that the story's come to a close. Gutted me, my second time watching because I forgot the ending entirely by the time we got here. So when this scene popped up in the theater or on my recent rewatch, it's like, oh no, did Willie Nelson like go pass away somewhere now that the story's over? No, thank goodness. He ran off and found love, and maybe someone for Ned to get with as well. The thing I'd forgotten about this dog is the through line of the movie is really based around him. The inciting incident around Ned going to prison, he has to give up Willie Nelson because he gave weed to a cop. When he gets out of prison and comes back home, his girlfriend has now moved on to get with TJ Miller's character, and they've decided to keep the dog because it was someone else's. The movie convolutes this enough and makes Paul Rudd's character nice enough that he's not willing to just outright take the dog back. That kind of works overall because it then turns into a plot point later when they come to steal the dog, and that doesn't work. Then later the family has to come steal the dog to convince Paul Rudd to leave jail once he's been bailed out. The dog being a major plot point really, really works here. It's not an accident that it's here because the dog's a metaphor for Ned. Ned is a golden retriever. He just wants the best for everybody. He wants to smile. He wants to have a good time. And just like any dog, you can only mess with them to a certain point where they're eventually going to bark back at you, just like Ned's character does. I love a comedy that, even for as simple as it is, can layer things. And layering in Willie Nelson alongside Ned just works so super fucking well. It's simple, but it's poignant, and I really appreciate that. The third and final thing that I love about this movie, just to highlight a bright little spot in the movie, is Adam Scott's character plays Elizabeth Banks' downstairs neighbor. They're kind of in like a friends situation where they live in the same building and they like each other, but they haven't like opened themselves up to that idea. It takes Ned coming in and mixing things up to get them to that point. But the scene that I love is when Adam Scott's character walks in and he's like, I want to watch Dune. Elizabeth Banks' character is around the corner while Paul Rudd's character Ned is out in the kitchen, and they meet for the first time like dogs meet. It's like they sniff each other's butts for a second, and then when they recognize they're both friendly, they both like Dune, then they immediately become friends. We get a scene with them later where they're talking about relationships that leads to Adam Scott and Elizabeth Banks getting together, which all works out great. Honestly, I just wish there was more. Like more Adam Scott, Paul Rudd pairing would really work for me. Also makes me wonder if maybe we could get some Paul Rudd in Severance at some point. I think he would be great in that show. And then it's also technically a Parks and Rec reunion because the two of them were in that together as well. Not playing friends, but I honestly prefer them in Our Idiot Brother. But what do you think? Do you enjoy this little indie comedy darling like I did, or do you find him too much of an idiot to enjoy it? We're gonna change gears from comedy into action movies. We're talking about Columbiana next, and as always, I'll see you tomorrow.